All right. Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Unlock the Power of the Cloud, how Zerto revolutionizes data security and disaster recovery. Today's exciting webinar is sponsored by Zerto, a Hewlett-Packard Enterprise company, and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, a future B2B company, and I'm so happy that I get to be your moderator for this conversation today because we are taking a deep dive into DR and migration strategies. And we have two incredible experts here with us today from the Zerto team who are going to help us explore the crucial role of the cloud in your organization's DR strategy. We're going to identify ways that you can seamlessly implement a cloud or multi-cloud approach and get all the benefits of purchasing through the marketplace. How exciting is that? Right here in one place, one conversation, we have leading experts in both cloud and in marketplace, and we are going to talk about those high-level strategies, the ongoing trends, which is top of mind, right, as we head into 2025, as well as those key insights, and most importantly, the action steps. If you're thinking ahead, if you're already really in the thick of January 2025 and beyond, which I think a lot of us are, you're already in the circle back in the new year kind of phases of life, and that's where we're headed today. We're going to start thinking ahead. What can you do? What can you do to supercharge your organization? And I am so excited to get into this conversation today. We're going to zip through a few housekeeping points, and then we will get things rolling. So let's start out with the questions window. Now, I already saw some highs and hellos coming in. I see you, Rakesh. I see you, Gilbert. Ben, I love this awesome crew of humans that are here with us today. I am so excited to hear from all of you. Keep those shout outs coming. Is it cold everywhere? Pretty sure we have enough to share. If it's not, yes, you know what? It is very cold for me here. So I would very happily trade some temperature. If anyone's offering some bright, sunshiny and palm tree days, I will trade you gloomy snow. How about that? How's that for a deal? I do want to hear from all of you. So keep those highs and hellos coming as we go through our day. Now, most importantly, though, is to get your questions in, because our speakers are going to do their best to answer some questions as we go through our conversation, but they're also going to stick around for a full Q&A, and we absolutely want to get into all the things that are top of mind for you. So make sure you're getting those questions in, and then we'll get into that group roundtable discussion at the end of our presentation today. Now, that questions window is also a good place to reach out to our team if you do have any technical issues. Hopefully this doesn't come up today, knock on wood, but hey, if the little, those little ice nymphs, I would usually say gremlins, but I'm in a winter mood today. If the little ice nymphs get in your system today and they're causing problems, you can try a browser refresh to start things out. A browser refresh is going to clear out mostly anything that comes up. I promise that's your, what's the cure-all. The panacea. But if that doesn't work for you, you're going to post in the questions window, you're going to reach out to our team, and we will be there to help you out. Now, if we were hanging out in the questions window together, I'm going to ask you to take one jump over to the handouts tab. Make sure you spend some time and download those handouts. Hold on to them. Don't move away just yet, because we've got a lot of conversation to get through, but you will want those when we wrap. So think of those as your stocking stuffers from Zerto, and you're going to want to spend some time with those handouts once we finish the webinar. I see a lot of you telling me about your warm weathers. Posh says sending warm and wonderful vibes your way. You know what, Posh? Thank you so much. That absolutely makes my day. And I appreciate that it's 79 and cloudy with a chance of meatballs in Texas, Ellen. Good, great, loving that. It's cold with a chance of frozen sausage here. I can't think of a good alternative for meatballs. You guys can help me out with that one. What's a good winter metaphor for that one? All right. Well, keep those handouts ready. Keep those questions coming in. Hey to you, Travis. I see you out there. I'm loving the energy from the crew today, and I want you guys to keep that rolling as we go through our conversation, because not only is that going to be great and make me very happy and put a smile on my face way up here in the Arctic tundra, but it is also going to enter you to win a $50 Amazon gift card. So we have this best question gift card going out to the best question asked in the entire session. So these things go by very quickly. Even if we don't get to you in a live Q&A, you are still entered to win just by asking that question. We're going to go over all the questions with the team once we wrap, so make sure you're getting those questions in. Hey, Jose, I see you as well. Love the vibe today. All right, well, you guys keep that coming, keep that rolling, because as you can see from our speaker lineup, boy, do we have an all-star crew with us, two returning veterans to the webinar scene and absolute thought leaders in the industry. I am so excited to be chatting with Anthony Dutra, technical marketing engineer at Zerto, and Bob Floyd, Floyd, Alliance Architect, also at Zerto. Today, Anthony, Bob, and I are going to really get into that more roundtable style conversation. And as I said, we're inviting all of you to join in. We have a lot of time planned to get into some questions at the end. We've got a little bit of a demo that we're going to try to pull up at the end as well. So lots of cool things coming. Keep those questions coming in. Let me get our wonderful speakers on out here. We'll go cameras on and get this rolling. All right. Well, Anthony, Bob, thank you so much for joining me here today. I am so excited to be here to chat with you in this pre-holiday extravaganza, pre-Christmas, whatever you're celebrating. It's a bit of a crazy time right now. There's lots going on, and I am so excited that I get to take a little bit of time to chit chat with both of you. Anthony and Bob, before we jump into our conversation, I would really love to kind of give the audience a chance to get to know you. We did the like formal introduction, names and titles and all that, but let's get to know each of you. So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do. What's the context you're bringing to our conversation today? And then tell me what you're excited to get into with our audience. And Anthony, you're a returning veteran here with me, so I'm going to kick things over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jess. And hi, everybody. My name's Anthony Dutra. I'm what's called the technical marketing engineer with Zerto. So I get to do a whole bunch of cool demonstrations, presentations, and just a lot of things with the Zerto technology. What I'm most excited about is talking about the cloud. That's where I was, I like to say, professionally born in. So now watching all these different trends and different technologies sort of emerging out of cloud and AI. I'm excited to be talking about how Zerto is going to be playing a part of that.
And I'm Bob Floyd. I'm the Global Alliance Architect, which means I'm the gearhead that works on the Alliance team and talks to all of our biggest partners. And by biggest, I mean they're big partners, not necessarily with Zerto, but like AWS and Microsoft. So I have primary responsibility for those technical relationships. I'm also the marketplace guy here with Zerto. And I guess if we're excited about something to be talking about, that would be marketplace for me, right? I spent the last couple of years of my life dealing with it, so I'm kind of proud of it. It's my baby, and happy to be here and talk about it. So I'll get out the baby pictures later.
Well, we're going to give you a chance to be a proud dad in a minute here, Bob, but I'm going to actually kick it over to Anthony's baby to start because I wanted to start with cloud, right? And we're heading into 2025. As I said, we're in that like pre-end of year crazy rush right now. But I think a lot of us already have our heads in the next year. And Anthony, one of the things you mentioned that you were excited to talk about today were some of the cloud trends. So let's kick things off with that. What are you anticipating? Where the sort of biggest or most significant growth is going to be as we head into 2025?
Yeah, definitely. I think one trend that's 100% going to continue is the adoption of the public cloud. So whether you're looking at AWS or Microsoft Azure, I think those services are going to expand to things that we haven't seen before, especially with the incorporation of Gen AI into a lot of them. I think you're going to see with that ease of, with the Gen AI but now being incorporated, the ease of use of adopting the public cloud going up. So we're going to see a lot of maybe public cloud adoption, but also this hybrid cloud adoption come 2025 and beyond. So really in the data protection space, that's very exciting because we want people to be able to recover, with as little overhead as possible on their end. When we're talking about Zerto and data protection trends and what we're looking forward to in the future. But just the many different technologies that span from the cloud, we're going to see continue to grow exponentially throughout the year.
It's a lot of reasons to be excited. Bob, anything that you want to add before I move us along?
Yeah, just to throw some numbers at what Anthony was talking about there. Gartner is estimating public cloud is going to be somewhere in the vicinity of, I don't know, what is it, 750 some odd million this next year, which works out to be almost 21% growth year over year from this year to next year. So, I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of business there and still a tremendous amount of space for growth. And it's exciting for Zerto because customers continue to look for ways to reduce their bottom line. And public cloud allows a burst capability that you don't have to worry about the hardware and maintaining buildings and all the rest of the stuff. It's there when you need it for capacity. So I think there's some fantastic opportunities there, just like Anthony was saying.
Well, Bob, Gartner also mentioned that AI is a part of that rapid growth for cloud, and 21%, that's huge. But I'm wondering if I could ask you guys to sort of unpack that for us a little bit. Because AI is one of those things that it's a pillar in everything, right? So what specifically is the impact of AI in cloud growth?
Azure and AWS have both spent a tremendous amount of resources to build AI into things within their own infrastructure, right? So it's stuff that you can implement now without necessarily having to be, I don't know, AI fluent and try and build it into your own data center. Bits and pieces here and there. And again, to go back to that Gartner study, I mean, they indicate that Gen AI is absolutely driving this move to the cloud. And I think a lot of it's got to do with ease of use and the fact that the experts on the public cloud side of things are making it better for guys like me who came out of the real IT world and used to manage things. I don't know the first thing about implementing AI, but if you give me an easy button in the public cloud, and I'm excited about it, right?
I love that. Hit the easy button. Anthony, what else would you add? What are you seeing as the role of AI? Because you do have that
Right.
hands-on mindset.
Yeah, honestly, I was at both just recently AWS reInvent as well as Microsoft Ignite. Obviously, Microsoft with Copilot integrating that into everything from their SaaS products down to everything in Microsoft Azure itself. Right, if I am new to the public cloud, I can just ask Copilot to help me do something or maybe walk me through the steps rather than having to go search it, go get a certification. So the adoptability of the public cloud is a lot easier for myself. And then honestly, like being in the cloud, the main thing of being in the cloud overall is the sort of available tools that I have to myself. So yes, AI is helping me, get stuff done easier. But then what else can I use with that AI, or maybe within the marketplace, within the cloud, can I, maybe better adopt my technology, with those two things together. The cloud has many different benefits, but the integration of Gen AI within it is just making it a lot easier, and we're just seeing that a lot more.
Well, speaking of kind of hitting that easy button, I think one of the things that we talk about over and over again is a little bit of planning up front, making everybody's lives a little bit smoother, a little bit easier down the line. So strategy, planning, more and more important, especially with Gen AI. It is pushing a lot of people. Yes, it is hitting that easy button, but you need to increase that literacy. And so I think there is a lot of emphasis on preparation and planning these days. So I want to talk a little bit about that kind of high level strategic approach. Anthony, cloud is your baby. Let's keep talking about that. How does adopting a cloud strategy, an effective, a well thought out cloud strategy, play into building a data resilience plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think, as we were sort of mentioning, knowing what you're going to do in the cloud and making it as part of your DR strategy is key there. So as Bob alluded to there, bursting into the cloud in the event of something happens on premise should be something that is done easily and with the cloud first and focus tool. So when you are sort of creating those layers of data protection within your on-premise environment today, well, how can we expand that into a public cloud environment if we are looking to go that route? How can we turn it into a hybrid cloud approach, right? We want a tool that is going to be, make that process simple and automated. And being able to understand what is going on in the cloud. And again, using a sort of cloud first technology is what's going to make adopting a cloud strategy, particularly in building a sort of data resilient plan, a lot easier. So making sure the tool is cohesive both in the public cloud itself, whatever it's running in, and your on-premise environment, and that so that they play nice together.
Bob, I'd actually love to ask you to weigh in on that as well. What is the role of cloud strategy? But I'm also going to ask you to start to tailor that a little bit towards us, towards what is an action step. For folks out in the audience, Anthony's just made a good pitch for why this is important, and I'm sure you'll have some things to add in. But what would you recommend as being that first step towards actually building towards that data resiliency plan, and maybe getting at some of the gaps that could exist in their current DR strategy?
Yeah, and that first step, in all honesty, what I talk to customers about, that first step is everybody's got it. First of all, let's back up for a second. Everybody's got a data resilience plan today, or at least they believe they do, right? In a lot of cases, that data resilience plan resides in a bright red emergency notebook that's kept in a box on the wall with a piece of glass in front of it that says, "In case of emergency, get out the hammer," right? They've sat down and they've thought about it and they've written all this stuff up. But, here's the thing. A lot of the people that I talk to have never actually tried it. They don't know if it's going to work. And at the risk of offending somebody, and that's not what I mean to do, I simply want folks to be thinking ahead. If you haven't tested your plan, you don't have a plan. You have a theory. You have hope. And no one in your executive team is going to be thrilled with the idea of hoping that it works, right? So the very first step in assessing the gaps in any data resiliency plan is actually to put the plan into motion. And if you don't have a way to test it today, you don't know if it's going to work when you absolutely positively need it. And I don't mean test once either. It should be something that's done on a regular schedule. And once you've tested, then you can sit down and go, all right, what worked, what didn't work? How do we fix this? And that's when, if you're not already in public cloud may start to come into play. One of the other things I tell people that aren't in public cloud is Zerto is a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water. It's not terribly difficult to implement a data resilience plan using Zerto, replicating to an AWS, to an Azure, or even their versions of VMware services, right, in the cloud. It gives you that extra capacity. You can start playing with the process, move a couple of applications, see how it works, test it. It gives you a way to start building your own confidence if you're not working in public cloud today, because it's not hard. Anthony, what did I miss?
No, nothing, man, because I think that's exactly right. So, how would you go about starting the process? Go and do it, right? I was asked that question once in a conversation. They said, "Why are businesses so bad at data protection?" It's not that they're bad; it's just they're broke, right? We don't know where to start or how to start with. So, it being able to, no matter if it's just like a simple backup in itself, or if you are looking for something that is truly resilient, like Zerto, and can offer that flexibility, just start by testing the procedures itself and going about seeing what works best and most efficiently for you.
Oh, and you just jogged my memory. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm indicating nobody's got a data protection plan in place, and a very good one in a lot of cases. But a lot of the people that we talk to initially are relying on a traditional backup type software to handle their data resiliency situation. And that's a recipe for giving up hours or maybe even days worth of data and taking days or weeks to recover, as opposed to using a true data resiliency solution like Zerto that's designed to give you, pinpoint accuracy in terms of when you recover the point, the RPO, the recovery point objective, the point in time you recover to, and the amount of time it takes to actually bring those assets back up and put them online for your company to actually use, right? Um, so, I mean, there's kind of a difference between the two things. You can have a great data protection plan in place, but not be set up for what I would call resiliency, meaning business continuity, right? Let's be up and running as quick as possible.
Right.
Hmm. I'm still kind of geeking out about if you haven't tested your plan, you have a great theory, not a plan. I'm gonna tattoo that on some folks that I know. I think that that is such an important thing to remember and applicable across a lot of things in life. Um, and I think you guys have hit on a few things. We were just talking about RTO, RPO. There's some really interesting points that Zerto is offering, but there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of platforms, a lot of innovative ideas out there. And what I would love to do is make sure that the audience is really clear on where Zerto stands out. I've gotten to talk to you guys a lot, and I know that you're bright, sparkly, innovative, wonderful humans with wonderful solutions. But let's share that with the audience. So, Anthony, I'm going to ask you to kick us off. And then, Bob, what do you think in your mind is really making Zerto stand out, especially when we're talking about adopting cloud or building into that multi-cloud environment?
Yeah. So definitely first. So Bob already touched on it in his last response, but it's the ease of use. I think that first comes to mind for myself. When you deploy, well, when you're in Zerto on premise, you're also in the public cloud. They're very much the same interface, and you're very comfortable with what it does. It also has very much a rich history of being able to do its continuous data protection very well. And honestly, I don't go to a conference or do a presentation where there isn't a Zerto customer in the crowd, and they do a lot of the query handling for me and questions for combating for me when it comes up to doing the solution. So it's something that works. It does its near synchronous replication very, very well. Being able to expand on doing that one thing very well is what makes Zerto unique.
Yeah, and just to expand on, I don't want to get too deep into the technical weeds, but I mean, Zerto is one of those pieces of software that I find incredibly useful, simply because it's not just ease of use; it's ease of deployment, right? And how lightweight we really are. With the vast majority of solutions out there that try to play in the same space we're in, you're looking at individual agents that have to be installed on every single virtual machine. There's a lot of overhead that goes into it, right? Zerto is install, deploy, a hypervisor level agent, if you will, that talks to all of your individual VMs running on each individual host. I say talks to the VMs, that's not quite right. Talks to the hypervisor and grabs the data, right? Because we're not actually interfacing with the VM in and of itself. There's nothing intrusive there in your environment. We're protecting your data without having a clue what the data is, right? You could be saving a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation, a spreadsheet, or pictures of your cat. We have no idea what they are, and we don't care. We are just moving the changed data. And the other thing, and that's the second point there, is we're not moving everything. There's no massive snapshot. It is literally block replication as the data is being written. So it's as up to date as it can possibly be. The term we use is near synchronous. There's no way for us to be 100% synchronous, but we are near synchronous, providing RPOs of anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds as a general rule of thumb when you're going from something like on-prem to in the cloud, which gives you a tremendous level of granularity when you're looking to recover from any type of an event. We talk about disaster recovery, but the reality is Zerto is great for your ransomware resilience as well. That is in its own way very much a disaster, right? I say disaster and people think earthquake or meteor shower or God knows what else, right? But the truth is that ransomware attack is probably much more likely than a meteor falling out of space and taking your data center out. Uh, and with Zerto, that low RPO gives you a chance to go, man, here's the moment in time the ransomware struck. Here's the moment in time I'm going to back up to, or I'm going to recover to right beforehand. And all of that takes place with a measure of security, because we don't know what you're moving around and don't care what you're moving around.
Well, I don't have a cat, Bob, but if I did, I would 100% have a computer full of cat photos. So thank you very much for for
Could be a
protecting
dog
them.
photo if you're a dog person. I'm down with that. I have dogs, not cats, so
Full of pet photos. I'm one of those. I have no pets, so I spend all my time watching pets on Instagram. This is I'm just a pet ant. But yes, no, point taken on that. I think it's a really great point, and we do get a lot of questions about compliance and security, and so I think it is really good to know that it's sort of the sight unseen. I want to ask you, and actually, I told you that I was going to come back to your baby. I promised you, Bob. I want to talk about Marketplace. So, Zerto is available in both AWS Marketplace and Azure Marketplace, and I'm curious, and maybe Bob, I'll get you to kick us off, and then Anthony will ask you to chime in as well. What do you think, or what are you hearing from people, are sort of the pros and cons to each of those?
The pros are really easy, to be honest with you. So, I mean, the major pro to either marketplace is that purchasing Zerto through Azure or AWS Marketplace allows customers to deprecate their committed spend. And basically, all that means is most customers working in the public cloud today have some type of a contract with AWS or with Azure that allows them to purchase services and resources at a reduced rate because they have committed to spend X amount of dollars in a given time frame. To give that, I don't know, to give that example some meat, you might sign a 5-year, $10 million contract where you're committing to spend $2 million a year over the next 5 years, right? The purchase of Zerto through the marketplace would count against that committed spend for the year that you purchase it in. And why is that a big deal? Because maybe you're not going to meet that number. Maybe the end of the year, you're going to write a check. You've committed. You're spending $2 million a year, whether you buy $2 million a year worth of stuff from Azure or AWS. Doesn't matter. They're getting their money, whether you get your stuff. So, purchasing software through the marketplace allows you to buy something tangible that runs in your environment, that gives you some other benefit that comes straight off that committed spend, either incrementally or 100%, depending upon the vendor and the specifics of your contract. We can get into that with individual customers and our sales teams, right? That's kind of what we're here for. But that's a huge benefit. And I could talk about how easy it is to deploy, but I'll leave something for Anthony to talk about. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any cons for deploying out of the marketplace. I mean, seriously, it is so easy. And purchasing, oh, that's something I could talk about there. Purchasing, you like this? I'm kind of off the top of my head. It's stream of consciousness. Sorry. I only got one cup of coffee this morning, Jess. But
You're doing great.
So it streamlines the purchasing process as well, right? In a lot of cases with a major purchase, there's a lot of back and forth. Our legal teams, your legal teams, the legal teams involved with a customer. Everybody wants to look at the contract. There's terms and conditions. It's a whole big thing. Most people that work with AWS have a pre-existing contract with AWS on the customer side. We, the vendor, have a pre-existing contract with AWS on the vendor side. In a lot of cases, those pre-existing contracts can simply be applied to the purchase up front. It solves a lot of that back and forth. It streamlines the whole process and makes it so much easier for IT teams to click and go, as opposed to a lot of the more problematic purchasing processes around purchase orders and faxes and who has to sign what and when and where, and makes it all so much easier. But Anthony, I'll let you talk a little bit about deployment.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much covered everything, right? If you look at Zerto being deployed within the AWS marketplace, you can see the CloudFormation template. You know exactly what's being deployed, and we're using those resources. With Azure, very much similar situation. Obviously very easy to deploy. Just simply go to the marketplace, type Zerto, get it now. And I think because one thing that you have been talking to me about, Bob, is just the stringent requirements to get on these marketplaces, which I think you failed to. I think you're just trying to block it out of your memory, as to what it takes to get on there. But it does. It takes a lot to get on these marketplaces, and it's very fully implemented once it is out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure most customers realize the security requirements on the back end.
Right.
So every time I have a new revision of software that needs to be posted, doesn't matter which marketplace we're talking about. Both of them have fairly stringent requirements. The templates that we use for deployment go through a scanning process to determine whether or not we're following their concept of, least necessary privilege. To make sure we're not over privileging things and potentially endangering a customer's environment. The machine images that we deploy, the virtual machines that we deploy to run Zerto, go through full security scans, not just the Zerto software, but the operating system underlying, right? And if we're not up to date on CVEs and whatnot, they will bounce the machine back to us and make us go take care of it. So Anthony's not wrong. I have blocked a lot of that out of my mind because there were a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of days where we thought we were at the finish line, and one vendor or the other went, no, this doesn't work right. You need to fix this. You need to do that, and they continue to do it with each and every update. It's not a clear the bar once and you're through. It's a, oh, you've got a new version of software. Great, let's start this process over again. So customers can deploy out of the marketplace with, I don't want to say 100%. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but a tremendous level of confidence that the software is meeting a level of security that's going to be, acceptable and beneficial to them.
Bob, in the outdoor community, we talk about type 1, type 2, and type 3 fun. Type 1 is like you're having fun right in the moment, you're having a great time. Type 2 is that really hard hike that you go on where you have a terrible time, you're miserable, and then afterwards it's like, oh, it's such a great story, and look at all these pretty photos. And type 3 is like, that was the worst, that was never fun, that's never going to be fun. And you just gave us the best illustration of type 2 fun. Just pros everywhere, amazing, love it, love it, love it, love it. And then Anthony's like, tons and tons of work,
Yeah.
lots of hiking. Very steep incline, but it sounds like definitely paid off. You nailed the summit photos, so that's great. Well, okay, speaking of which, let's talk about the summit photo then. What is new and exciting in the marketplace for Zerto?
Yeah, I mean, we've hit GovCloud status for AWS, right? So getting into those regions are absolutely huge. Same thing, right? Government for region for Azure as well, Bob.
Yeah, we're deployable in both commercial and GovCloud. At least our to from product, and by to from I mean the Zerto Cloud appliance is deployable in both Azure and AWS GovCloud instances, which is tremendous for us. We just released 10U6 last week, and the marketplaces for both both cloud vendors are being updated as we speak. So we should have the latest and greatest code. This brings us, some new features. I mean, the ability to use CMKs on the Azure side, some fairly hefty performance improvements with AWS. And I mean, we didn't even talk about it really, but we also have Zerto in Cloud for AWS that provides region to region and multi-account support from a single Zerto instance. You can move your EC2 instances from any region to any other region. We didn't talk about that at all, but I mean, you're responsible for your data in the public cloud, right? And so Zerto isn't just great for on-premise data center to public cloud. It's great for region to region within the public cloud as well, because you're responsible for backing up your workload. So if you're somebody that's already in the public cloud today and serious about it, where's your data and how are you protecting it? Because Azure and AWS aren't. You're responsible for that. So if you want your workload to be data resilient, you need to be backing up not just from one AZ to another AZ, but from one region to another region in case something catastrophic happens. And we got you covered with both Azure and AWS in that case, right? So
take it a step further, although people usually don't, you can use Zerto to replicate between the two public clouds. Mm-hmm. Not a usual use case, but is technically possible for those who don't know. Another big talking point is AVS support. So for those who don't know, that's the Azure VMware solution, basically private VMware, but managed through the Azure platform. Mm-hmm. When I was at Microsoft Ignite, people would come up to me about that and using Zerto to get there. So there is an availability to that. Obviously, with the Broadcom acquisition, licensing being kind of odd. People are liking that option because it gives Microsoft's almost the middleman between them and Broadcom, and they kind of get to get into Azure without losing the familiarity of VMware itself. So that availability being part of the Zerto offering was as well as just another kind of another benefit overall. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff with it being available in the marketplace in both public clouds.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
well, I was just going to say you can transact all that stuff today
Yeah.
through the marketplaces. So we haven't talked about anything that you can't actually purchase there.
I love that, and definitely getting in, trying things in action. Well, okay, so this is definitely an example of type one fun. I'm having a fantastic time, and the only thing that I can think of that would make this better, besides audience Q&A, which I want to get into in just a second, because we have some great questions coming in. So keep those questions rolling in, folks. We're going to get to you in just a second. But Bob, you mentioned to me when we were chatting about this webinar that you might want to pull out a demo on the spot and show us all of this in action. Are you ready and queued up? Could we do a live demo right now?
Sure. Yeah, we can do a live demo. I've got AWS Marketplace queued up. And the idea here, just to kind of intro the demo, is to give you an idea how easy this is to deploy. Give me 1 second. We're going to hop straight into Marketplace. Everybody should be looking at AWS Marketplace now. Raise your hand if you're not.
No, wait, no, I'm raising my hand. I am. I am.
Put it
You
out
are.
there.
Hands down. Hands down.
All right. So what you should see in front of you is Zerto's disaster recovery offering within the AWS Marketplace. I've queued this up in my Sandbox account real quick. Normally, and I want to be clear about this, as a general rule, we do this through private offer, right? It is available, but I'm going to tell you up front, nobody wants to go purchase this. This is straight up list price in the AWS Marketplace. So if you're interested in Zerto, we need to get you hooked up with your account teams, and we'll take care of that list price problem, right? So I want to be clear about that up front. But go to view purchase options. I've already issued a private offer to my account for demo purposes. You can see I've got a $0 price tag. You will not see a $0 price tag in yours. Let me be clear. We want to create an account or create contract. It does take a couple of seconds to do the contract creation. I think we're probably reaching out and talking to AWS servers on the back end there, and we've got to do some contract work. As a general rule, I give it a couple of seconds and I do a refresh. That may take a minute. So while it's doing that, I want to show you one other thing real quick. We're going to jump to my dashboard. You should now be looking at my AWS dashboard, specifically my EC2 stuff. And if I open running instances, you will see there is absolutely nothing running here at the moment. So this is kind of the magician showing you that there's nothing up his sleeve. I'm going to come back and look at the marketplace and do a quick refresh, and boom. My button up here at the top has now gone AWS orange, which tells me I'm ready to click to configure, which brings me to the beginning of the whole process of actually deploying, right? I've got my fulfillment option, specifically in this case, it's Zerto recovery or disaster recovery, my software version, and down here in the bottom, whatever region I want to deploy to. You'll see GovCloud as an option here. Actually, every single currently public AWS commercial in US GovCloud region is available in this dropdown. So you can deploy anywhere in the world that you want to. I'm going to leave US East in there as the default and click continue to launch. Now it's going to ask me, gives me confirmation of everything, and then says, how do you want to do this, right? Choose your action. I'm going to stick with launch cloud formation. This allows me to use the embedded CFT or cloud formation template that we send to AWS. And this is going to drop me straight into my cloud formation stack. On the first page where it says create stack, you pretty much want to leave all the defaults in place. This is things like URL to where you can find to where AWS is pulling that cloud formation template from. And if you start moving things around on this page, you end up messing up the install.
Bob, did you take us to another page? I'm still seeing launch this software.
Oh, sorry. It
No,
opened.
that's all right. We were following the magician. We were still up your sleeves. We hadn't gone with you down that
Yeah,
particular reveal. There we go.
yeah, my bad. AWS opens a new tab, and I missed that during the process. My fault. Anyway, so we'll back up. This is the create stack page I was talking about, where you pretty much want to
Nice.
leave all the defaults in place. So we click next. Now you got to put a name in. For those of you that have never done this before and aren't familiar, the only trick to this is you can't use anything but alphanumeric characters and numbered characters here. So even spaces don't work. I almost always put a space in there and have to go back. We've got two options as far as instance size that have been tested with Zerto, M6A and M5. The M6A is the default because it's going to be cheaper, but it's not available in every single AWS region. So, for those of you that want to deploy in a region where M6A is not available, you'll have to use an M5. We're just going to use my default set of keys. In this case, you may want to create your own a specific set for Zerto as opposed to using something you've got pre-configured. Create and assign an elastic IP. I'm going to leave this false for the moment. I have had a customer that does this, but most customers leave it as false. My source IP address is one of those consistent bits that confuse people. This is the IP address I want to connect to my Zerto instance from. If you're connecting from an office, you can use the default gateway in the office. If you don't care, in this case, I'm going to use all zeros. I'm going to leave it wide open. This is not what AWS would actually recommend. And it can always be edited later in the software security settings to add more. I mean, in this day and age, a lot of us work from home, specifically in the IT world. So if you've got 4, 5, 6 guys that may need access to this, and you've got follow the sun support, you can put in 4, 5, 6 different source IP addresses and make sure everybody on your team's got access. And then at the bottom, define your VPC and your subnet for what we're doing. Click next. A lot of customers add tags. That's the only thing on this page I recommend paying much attention to. The IAM role is going to be created for you by the CloudFormation template. So nothing to add in that particular case. Leave the stack failure options alone as a general rule, and you can look at everything else. Now, down here at the bottom, we've got one box that you have to check. And basically, this is making sure that you understand that this CloudFormation template might be creating an identity and access management resource. I'm going to, spoil the surprise and tell you that we are. We absolutely creating specific
The big
Zerto
reveal.
permissions and roles for this. They're very restricted. AWS has been over them with a fine tooth comb and approved them. We're good to go, I hope. This is just your review page. Look at everything. And then when you're done at the bottom, click submit. Click and submit. Pops us into the CloudFormation stack creation page, and you can actually watch it bounce through and create all of the given resources that we've talked about. The first thing it's going to do is create the permissions and the roles that are necessary for Zerto to run. And then it will go through the process of deploying the Amazon Machine Image, or AMI for short. And once that's done, it would show up in my EC2 console as a running instance. You can log into it and complete the Zerto configuration there, and you're off to the races. I won't hold you here while we wait for this to build. I will tell you that typically this creation process is pretty quick. I've seen it happen as fast as 3.5, 4 minutes. The longest I think I've ever seen it take is like 7, 8 minutes maybe. So it's a very quick process, and you're up and running. Compare that to the manual deployment that we used to go through pre-marketplace offering. And that could take upwards of 2.5, 3 hours of you being on the phone with a Zerto specialist, helping you manually build a lot of the stuff that the CloudFormation template is now doing. So anyway, that's what it looks like to bounce through a deployment for Marketplace. That's how easy it is and how quickly you can be running. Questions, comments, rash political statements?
That was so great. Part of why I enjoyed that so much was that, I don't know, we might have gotten bumped off screen, Anthony, but I could see Anthony reacting in real time to the demo. So I was both watching the demo and then also like getting like one of those Instagram videos where somebody's reacting the whole time. So I love that. I enjoyed that on every level. And you know what? That was a really cool walkthrough to see how fast and easy that is. So no notes, Bob. Anthony, anything you want to add to Bob's?
No, I mean, I think it was perfect. Shows how simple everything was. I love the feature. I think what surprised me the most was being able to address the IPs that do have restriction access to it. I did not know that. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's so cool. So my nerd went off, and I do apologize.
Yeah, to give a little bit of equal time, the deployment on Azure with an Azure Resource Management template or an ARM template is equally as simple. Doesn't really take any longer. Slightly different configuration options because the two clouds function a little differently, right? Anybody that's worked in both of them, would recognize that fact. But yeah, equally easy and equally quick. Takes a total of about 10, 12 minutes to be up and running.
Well, equally easy, equally quick are good things, especially during these busy, crazy times. But hey, I think we need that easy button in our lives all the time. So I would love to, Matt. Well, I was going to say I'd love to stop here, but I would actually hate to stop here. I would love to keep going here. But we are going to take a pause because, as I said, we have a ton of questions coming in from the audience. And I know that you guys wanted to save a little bit of time for Q&A and get into some of those questions with the folks out there today. So let's take a quick pause and jump over to some audience questions. You guys ready to rock?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Always. I like it. Right attitude. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so before we jump into all of the very many questions that we have collecting here, and I'm so excited to explore, we're gonna turn the tables. We're flipping this around on all of you out there because we're starting out with a question for all of you. So what we wanna know is which public cloud provider do you use or are you planning to use in the future? Now, if it's an other situation, we would love for you to write in the chat. There are no wrong answers here. We are just curious about where you're at. Bob and Anthony, what are your predictions? Where do you think we're going to see the vast majority?
Oh, I think it's going to fall in AWS and Azure.
Ooh, okay.
Question
AWS
is which
and
one?
Azure. You're just not sure which one's going to win, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Anthony, what's your prediction? Anthony? Did we lose your mic when we switched the cameras off? We may have lost Anthony's mic. Anthony, blink if you can hear us. Bob, you're going to have to speak on behalf of Anthony today. We seem to have lost him when we switched over to the poll. Okay, well, Bob, do you want to see if you're right? I'm going to take a look at the answers here.
Okay.
If you haven't submitted your answer, now's the time. Let's see if Bob's right. Okay, Bob. You are absolutely correct. The top two are AWS and Azure. Audience and Bob, would you like to know which one has pulled ahead?
Yes.
Yes. Drum roll. Well, oh no. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was wild. Okay, it was Microsoft Azure by like 3%, and then it switched around, and now they are neck and neck. Dead tie. Dead tie. Whoever hits next is going to break the tie. We are currently.
Does that mean I win a Cupid doll because I picked them both?
You win, Bob. You are the winner. Wow. Dead tie, neck and neck, AWS and Azure. And then, somebody just bumped it over. We got a couple of extra answers and it went right over to AWS. So we're going to give it to AWS. And then third place, Google Cloud in that. I'm curious about some of the other write-ins. It looks like Posh is saying GCP and Google Workspace and AWS for website data. So that's interesting. Bob, I'm going to kind of move. Actually, you know what? I'll leave the poll up for a second longer just in case anyone wants to chime in with their answers and was delayed finding their keyboard. I get it. While they're doing that, Bob, can we get into a few questions and we'll see if we can get Anthony's mic reconnected as well?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
You're back.
He's there.
I'm here.
Sneaky. Sorry. You know what? When I turned your camera off, I must have bumped you off entirely. I was just done with you, Anthony. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Yo, laughing a little too hard, Bob. Yeah.
Wow. Harsh. Okay.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Right here before Christmas too. That's
Yeah. That kind of a webinar. The gloves are off. All right. So let's start out with a question here from our audience. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to sneak in as many as I can. With Zerto for Azure, can I fail over between two different regions?
Yeah,
yes.
Great. Yes, there we go.
Yes, easy. Yes.
Good.
Resounding.
Feel free
yes.
to expand,
Anthony. No, go ahead.
Yes. No, I think the important thing is as we've talked about, just deploying it within the marketplace is quite simple. So being able to do that, you can do so in different regions. It's the same exact license and software. So it's very easy to use, and yes, you can go between regions.
Easy is the theme of our day, and I love it. Okay, let's get to this one. Does Zerto offer anything to protect either Microsoft services like Microsoft 365 or Entra ID?
Oh, see, this one's personal to me because no, Zerto itself doesn't, but there is a great company that used to be called Zerto Backup for SaaS, powered by Keepit. So they're called Keepit. Definitely look them up. They have a technology that does exactly that, and it even goes beyond. Goes into like Zendesk, Office 365, a whole bunch of other things. So we do affiliate with them, but nothing that, because Zerto isn't a SaaS solution, data protection solution, so it doesn't fit there.
Right. Okay. Bob, I was moving on without giving you a chance to chime in. Anything you want to add?
No, I think Anthony covered it there. The Keep It solution is brilliant and does a great job of covering those things that Zerto doesn't. So
all right. He is a smart cookie. We'll keep him around. We'll keep his mic enabled.
Yes.
Okay. This is a good one. Let's say I want to replicate from Azure to AWS. Can I do that with Zerto?
Yes, you actually can. Yeah, go, Bob. Please expand because I know I've been talking too much. I get excited.
No. Zerto is an agnostic platform. We run on anything, and we replicate to and from any of the platforms that we support. So on premise, VMware and Hyper-V; in the cloud, AWS and Azure native, as well as a number of different VMware services from. Like Google VMware Cloud Engine, Oracle VMware Cloud Service, Azure VMware Service or AVS. So yeah, you can replicate to and from between all of those things.
Amazing. To, from, between, any direction you're into. I like it. Perfect. Bob, that felt like an A+ answer to me. Anthony, anything you wanted to add?
No, that was spot on. No, that's kind of the beauty of Zerto. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So now I'm going to give you guys an easy one because we are getting close to the end of time, and I want to wrap up with two quick ideas. One, I want to know if you had to choose, and I'm going to ask each of you to answer because you each have your favorite, your children, your cloud, and your marketplace. If you had to choose one favorite thing, one key standout Zerto unique that you would want the audience to be aware of, what would that be? Anthony, kick us off. Bob, you're our grand finale on that one.
There we go. I'm going to say simplicity, right? So I think you've seen the demo of Bob just setting everything up through the AWS marketplace. We talked about how stringent it is to get on these marketplaces and what Bob has to do in order to get them on there. So they are technologies that are proven to work when you do download it, and and it gets you going right away. So it's very easy to use, very secure to use, and that's it. Simplicity is my word.
Love it. Bob?
Wow. Boy, I don't know. That's Anthony's is tough to follow. Because simplicity is one of the things that drew me to Zerto. And I guess the versatility, if I'm going to pick one thing, right? We work with all of the major stuff out there. And we really don't care where you want to put your data and how you want to move it, right? The fact that you can run production on-prem in a VMware or Hyper-V environment and then do your DR to whatever cloud you care to back up to, or do your disaster recovery to, I think is positively amazing. There just really isn't another solution like it out there that gives you that level of versatility in terms of platforms and where and how you do your disaster recovery or your migration if you're moving from point A to point B. But and we're adding platforms, on a regular basis. So check back next year. We will have more to report. So good stuff.
Stay tuned for more. That's great news for me. That means more webinars with you two. So win-win. As we I could feel how excited you guys were about that. But
well, Anthony's worried about you turning his mic.
Yeah.
I was like, "Do you sure?" No.
Are you sure you want to have me back? Okay, I said I was going to do 2 final questions. That was 1. You guys nailed it. I'm rewarding you with question number 2, which should be an easy one. I want to let the audience know, what do they do to get started? We had a lot of questions coming in that we're not going to get to today. I do want to remind all of you that they're going to get sent to the Zerto team, so you'll get answers back. But in the meantime, Anthony, Bob, give them something that they can do as they walk out of the webinar. What's a great next step to getting to know Zerto? And I'll go in the same order. Anthony, and then Bob, if you have anything you want to add too.
Cool. I'll definitely pitch what I always pitch, the Zerto hands-on labs. So literally just type in Zerto free hands-on labs. You can sign up and join. They're completely free. You can test Zerto in AWS, test Zerto in Azure, replicating from on-prem to those sites. And it's a great hands-on tool, completely free for you to use.
Perfect. Bob, what do you got? You're the grand finale. You're it. This is the final thought of the day.
The final thought of that. And I'll follow that up with a visit to Zerto.com. There's more in-depth information about everything we talked about today and then some there on Zerto.com, as well as a way to reach out directly to Zerto and get somebody to call you back so you can have an in-depth conversation by phone or in your office, and a more specific demo around whatever it is you need to do. So give us a shout.
Well, I think those were great places to wrap up, great action steps. You guys have given us a ton to think about today. I really want to thank both of you. Truly, I both enjoy our conversations and also learn a lot. So thank you both for being here with me.
Yes, thank you, Jess.
Thank you. Appreciate having us.
All right, and to everyone out there that's asking some great questions, keep those coming in. As I said, we're going to send those over to the Zerto team, so you will get answers back. Now, you can also, if you're looking for more information right away, visit the handouts tab. Now, remember at the start of our conversation today, I said it was absolutely full with resources. If you haven't visited, go check now. It's like, I'm stuck in holiday analogies now. This is that like box that's stuffed with like 15 other presents inside of it. If anyone had a parent that used to play Christmas jokes, my dad used to wrap boxes inside other boxes. And then finally, one year, it was just a stick of gum in like 15 boxes and a lot of duct tape. That was my favorite dad moment. Anyways, this is not that. There is much better than a stick of gum in this particular box. There's actually a whole bunch of resources for you. So I'm going to walk you through them because there's a lot in there. So you've got Zerto for Microsoft Azure. So this is looking at that complete disaster recovery and mobility to, from, and between Azure regions. Then you've got Zerto for Amazon Web Services or AWS. That's disaster recovery at scale for Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud or EC2 instances. Then you've got Zerto Overview. This is basically exactly what it sounds, right? This is a look at Zerto, and it's going to talk about that scalability that we just heard about, that versatility, the simplicity, and getting into that software-only solution that's ideal if what you're thinking about is resilience, recovery, and mobility. There's also Zerto in Cloud for AWS. That's disaster recovery at scale for Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud or EC2 instances. And then Zerto for multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, how to build your cloud your way. I love that. So that was a whole lot of stuff. That's a whole lot of ways to follow up on this wonderful conversation that we've just had. So be sure that you visit that handouts tab, download all of those resources and hold on to them. Now, hot tip, if you try to click on every single link all at once, it will tell you that some of those links don't open. So the key to clicking on all those handouts is click, take a deep breath, click, take a deep breath and click. I know it's exciting and you just want to go click, 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 but sometimes that kind of overloads the ask. So click, breath, click. I know, it's very exciting. I believe in you. You guys can all do this. All right, so now we also have a prize giveaway, and that's a $250 Amazon gift card going to someone who is here live and present with us today. And that special someone is Matthew Moy from Michigan. That is the most alliterative winner we've had in so long, and I love it. Matthew Moy from Michigan. Congratulations, Matthew Moy from Michigan. You have won a $250 Amazon gift card, and we will follow up about claiming your prize after we wrap up our webinar today. All right, my friends. Well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank Zerto for making this webinar possible, especially to our incredible speakers here with us today, Bob and Anthony. As I said earlier, you've given us a lot to think about. You've given us a lot to explore in our own organizations. Posh also loving the alliteration. Thank you for that, Posh. I appreciate it. I like the literary heads out there with us. And I do really want to say a big thank you to all of you here in the session with us. You know, I don't know if I'll get to see all of you guys again before the holiday season wraps up. And I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us today, but also for joining us throughout the year. You know, there's so many of these conversations that really just can't take place without all of you joining in, asking wonderful questions, participating in that collaborative and shared learning opportunity. And this is how we stay ahead of all of these incredible innovations and opportunities, and also all of the threat actors and sort of the dark side of these innovations, right? Is by having opportunities like this to come together and discuss and share. And I have so loved being a part of that journey with all of you throughout this last year. I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of it with you today. And I look forward to many more in the future. If I don't see you again, have a wonderful holiday season. Happy early new year to all of you. Hopefully I'll get to chat with some of you again soon. And hopefully I'll see you all at a webinar again soon. And I'll see you at some webinars in 2025. Thanks all.